Okay. Uh, Good evening. I'm Madhukar from ARM Austin. I'm a software developer in the OSS group in ARM. First of all, I would like to thank Linaro organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak at Linaro Virtual Connect 2021. Uh, I and my colleague Manish Vadake today will be discussing about firmware configuration framework and chain of trust in TFA. TFA is Trusted Firmware project. It is a secure world software implementation for ARM v7A and ARM v8A based architectures. And it provides several features in secure monitor code, including SMC calling convention, power state coordination interface, trusted boot requirements, software delegated exception interface, and etc. As part of TFA, we were working on implementing a new framework called Firmware Configuration Framework to improve several features in TFA. So fconf is an abstraction layer for accessing platform-specific information. It could be anything like which describes the underlying hardware. Example, it could be the base address of a UART IP or a global interrupt controller or the policies adopted by the platform for accessing IO. Uh, the way we have architected the fconf is on the basis of a fetch or a retrieve model, like get value property. This way, we have made sure that the platform-specific information is accessed in a very streamlined fashion. Um, let's take a look at fconf in detail. This fconf allows any software driver to query for a property without actually knowing where the property is stored or how it is actually implemented. What I mean is, let's take an example of typical scenarios in which a property is stored in a software, right? For the most popular way is a C structure, where the structure has several member variables, or it could be in the form of a hard-coded compile time macro, right? Or in or it is also possible that the property is stored in a configuration file. One such popular configuration file format is device tree source file, which is also very well known in upstream community in Linux project as well. And in fact, we have fconf is heavily inspired based on the device tree source format actually, and we have architected it to work well with the device tree source. The motivation is simple. We want to reduce a lot of source code fragmentation in the TFA, where these two platforms which are very similar to each other have two different drivers just because they have to hard code some information about their underlying IPs. Um, so we have also put efforts to make sure we can leverage fconf to implement common binaries that can be run on any compatible platform. Uh, we have documented fconf framework and on the read the docs portal. Let's take a look at the design of fconf. Um, we have chosen C data structures to be the main backend for the fconf, just to be backward compatible with the existing implementations. These data structures are filled in runtime for only once by populate functions. A populate function could be as simple as a parser, which actually retrieves the value from a device tree source file. It is the responsibility of the platform integrator or a developer to implement these populate callbacks. And these populate callbacks are then later invoked by the fconf, and the values are populated into the data structures appropriately. Let's take a look at the interfaces which form the backbone of the fconf framework. In build time, we require the fconf framework. The fconf framework requires the platform developer to register their callbacks. This is very similar to a publisher and subscriber model in the software world. And next step, which is during the boot time, uh, the fconf would actually load these configuration files into the memory such that these callbacks can actually work on that device tree file. Step two is where the fconf framework invokes all these populate callbacks automatically, such that each callback can actually retrieve this information and populate into the device, into the appropriate C structures. And at the end is where an entity like a software driver can actually query for these properties using an API which resembles this way. Let's take a look at the interfaces closely later. So one of the popular interface, one of the mandatory interface is fconf register populator. It's actually just a preprocessor macro with 3 parameters. The first one represents broadly what kind of configuration are we dealing with. For example, UART is a hardware configuration. An IO policy or a chain of trust could be information about trusted boot requirements. So that's a different configuration. So this makes sure, and the third parameter is the actual callback itself. End of the day, these callbacks could be as simple as retrieving some function which retrieves some information from the device tree file. The next interface is the fconf get property, which is of the most most important for a end developer. It has 3 parameters: namespace, subnamespace, and a property. A namespace loosely represents a collection of a large group of properties. For example, in hardware configuration of an SoC, like the number of CPUs or clusters, UART, IP, GIG, SMMU, or anything like that. Subnamespace is again logically a group of related properties, could be like information about UART IP itself. And the property is the information about the IP itself, for example, the base address or the clocking information for the UART IP. This macro expands to namespace underscore subnamespace underscore getter with property as an argument to it. For example, we can see how we can leverage the fconf get API to access the information about the UART base address. Through fconf, we have put efforts to make sure the trusted firmware A project can be made into more dynamic project. The idea is to actually remove any dependencies on hard compile time macros, for example, the base addresses of any IP, and rather retrieve such information in runtime, which using the device tree files. This way, 2 different platforms can reuse the same driver because the actual information about the platform is retrieved in runtime. This way, we have made sure that software images or binaries can be reused across related SoC platforms. Apart from this, we have also implemented several other improvements, including IO policies and chain of trust, to be described in a more dynamic fashion. I'll hand over to my colleague Manish Badakina. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Madhukar. Let me share my screen. And thanks to Linaro organizers to give me this opportunity to represent chain of trust using the firmware configuration. So let me share my screen now. Are you guys able to see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay. Yeah. So let me explain the uses of the fconf using chain of trust as an example. So the agenda for my presentation is like, we will go through the little bit about the authentication framework, how exactly it is implemented in TFA, then chain of trust, how it is statically implemented as of now in TFA, the motivation of using the fconf to move this chain of trust into device tree, how we are populating this device tree and then get that information from the device tree and put it into the some structure as Madhukar explained using the fconf. And then there are several APIs we will go through, like which we use fconf APIs to do the image verification. And we'll see what exactly the conclusion we made, and I will share the resources where you can find this code. So with that, let me start with the authentication framework. So authentication framework basically contains the 3 building blocks. One is the generic code, which is implemented in BL1 and BL2, And there is one IO framework which is used in order to load the images using the IO layer. And third block is the platform port that is basically provides the chain of trust information for every image, and also provides some routines in order to get the root of trust public key or hash of it. It depends upon the platform. If they want to share the public key using some method, they can give that implementation, or they can share the hash information also using some particular method. In this authentication framework, various modules are getting used, like a crypto module, and authentication module is the like abstraction layer to get some methods from crypto modules and image parser module. We will see how exactly that is implemented using chain of trust example in the next slides. Yeah. So chain of trust currently it is implemented statically in most of the platform. This chain of trust is nothing but is an array of the various images. These images are represented by this authentication image descriptor structure. These images either can be a raw images or it can be a certificate image. So if you see the blocks which are in the blue colored are the raw images, and others are the certificate. This structure basically represent like what exactly the image ID of that particular image, what is the parent of that image, whether it is a certificate image or raw image by telling its image type, and what are the different methods basically used in order to authenticate that image. It can be either a hash method, or we can use a signature method to authenticate that image. And there is authenticated data. This basically used by the certificate image. Once that certificate get authenticated, it will put that public key information or the hash information inside the authentication data. So if you see here as an example of BL2 image, so BL2 image parent is the firmware certificate image. So to authenticate the BL2 image, we have to first authenticate the firmware certificate, and the firmware certificate need to be authenticated by the root of trust public key. So we have to go through the whole chain for particular image to get authenticated. This is a smaller chain. There may be a larger chain also present in the for particular image. For example, to authenticate this particular certificate, it has to go to the another certificate, like a chain of certificate, to get himself authenticated. So this is currently implemented quite statically for most of the platforms, and in ARM platforms, we try to move this information into the device tree using the AppCom framework. So we have created a binding document for this, which can be used by the other platforms. This is currently implemented in ARM platform right now. So this binding document basically contains two major nodes. One is the manifest node and the other is the image node. The manifest node basically contains all the certificate information. So the information present in the static structure is not quite readable. So this device tree gives the opportunity to provide the certificate information in quite readable format. So if you see, we can say we can say like this firmware certificate is the root certificate. There is no parent for this certificate. It contains the image ID. It shows which particular method it is using to get authenticated. Like here, it is the NV counter method, and it shows what are the hashes are present in this particular image. So it is quite readable for the user to get the whole information at one place instead of just going through the code. And the image basically contains what exactly the parent of this image. Basically, raw images are having the certificate as a parent, and also it contains the object OID. That object OID is nothing but to get the hash information. from the certificate image. So during the authentication of the particular image, in the authentication process, it gets the hash information from the certificate, and this particular image is given to the crypto module. It calculates the hash of it, and if those hashes get matched, this image gets validated accordingly. Also, we have added one extra node which is currently present only for the ARM platform right now, which is the NV counter node. It basically gives the information where exactly the NV counter present for the ARM platform. So we can provide the base address information to facilitate the ARM platform to get the NV counter data from this register, and this particular value is get compared with the NV counter present into the in the certificate. And if the certificate's NV counter is of the higher value, then only we go for the authentication of the images. So we see like this particular information can be used by any platform, and they can build their own chain of trust accordingly. So as Madhukar explained already how the fconf populate function works. So we are using the similar methodology over here in order to populate the code descriptor. So basically, we first populate the TB firmware. So TB firmware is nothing but the trusted boot firmware config, which is for the BL2 specifically. It is a device tree for the BL2. And then after that particular configuration get populated, we populate all the nodes which are present in that firmware configuration. So COT is one of the node over there, and NV counter is another. And we take that information and put that information into some structure during the runtime, and that structure then used by different resources in the code to get the chain of trust information. Similarly, for the NV counter, we get the NV counter base address into some particular value, and that base address can be used by the code whenever needed to grab the information about the NV counters in the platform. So this is how it is implemented. And as Madhukar also mentioned, there is a publisher APIs are there. So these are what register populator APIs we are using from the fconf in order to register the code descriptor and NV counter. So various get properties APIs, which Madhukar covered in his last slide. Similarly, we are using it, we are using it over here in order to grab the information about the chain of trust descriptor, and similarly to get the base address of trusted NV counter and non-trusted NV counter in the system for the ARM platform. So the resources for this are present already in the trusted firmware link mentioned over here. So the more detailed information about every property in the binding for the COT is present over here. So people can use that and create their own chain of trust accordingly. And this particular thing is implemented in version 2.4 of the trusted firmware release, and it can be enabled using the code descriptor in device trees. One flag is there, and people can see how exactly it is used in the code. So the basic pros of this particular method, people can add seamlessly the descriptors into this chain of trust without worrying too much about the code, and build their own device tree and attach it into the main firmware. And obviously this is kind of more in readable format than the information present statically in the code. So people can everybody get to know like what exactly the details about the chain of trust by just seeing the device tree. And definitely we can use more static initialized buffer and descriptors in the code. So, and another, but only one cons of this particular thing is we don't have the dynamic allocation method present in our code right now. So definitely we have to allocate the descriptor for the maximum number in any case. So yeah, with that, if you have any question, we will go ahead with that. And we will see further. Thanks.